Hello everyone and welcome to Kaggle's 30 Days of ML Day 3. In Day 2, we learned about some basics of Python, some really basics of Python that will help you get started with Python. And it was about variables, types, some inbuilt functions like print, type, min, max, these kind of things, some arithmetic operations. So it was quite basic stuff. And today we are going to learn about functions, which is a little bit advanced. But it's also very easy, so you don't have to worry about anything. Just follow the tutorial. If you don't have the link to tutorial, you can find it in the description box. So once you do the lessons, you don't have to commit, you don't have to save the code like we did for Titanic competition. Once you solve the exercises, you will get a green checkbox like this, and it shows you your progress. So functions and getting help, this is the new lesson. And getting help, so let me just make a copy of this so that I can run the code and I can show you what's happening. One thing that I have not talked about is how to install Python on your own computer, but don't worry about it. We will come to that after we finish the intro to Python lectures. And right now you will be using Kaggle's environment. It has all the libraries, it has everything installed, so you don't have to worry about anything. So just go to Kaggle, create a new notebook, and just get started. So getting help. Now, there's a lot of functions, like you have the print function that we saw last time, ABS absolute function, min, max, different kind of functions we saw last time. And if we want to know how they work, what we can do is we can just write help, and then we can write what we want the help for. So like if I want help about the function min, I will just run this cell. So now the session is starting, that's why it's taking time the first time, but after that it's very fast. So when I typed help, and inside the parentheses I wrote min, so help is also a function. It's an inbuilt function. It tells me what min does. So it tells me min, then you have iterable something. You don't worry about it. So now it says with single iterable argument return its smallest item. Now the environment, the notebooks that you're working in, these are called Jupyter notebooks. And with Jupyter notebooks, you can also do something like question mark, and then you can write min, and it's going to give you the same help. So now there is a function called round, and if we want to know what this function does, we can run help round, and it will tell you that it's a built-in function for rounding a number to a given precision in decimal digits. So it's really very clear. You have two arguments here. You have to provide the number and you have to provide n digits. And when it says n digits equal to none, it means it's an optional argument. You don't need to provide it. So now if I run something like round 2.54, I will get 3. And if I run round 2.49, I should get 2. So that's what round function does. It rounds to the nearest integer. And if I have something like this, and if I provide n digits, now I will provide n digits argument, and I say, okay, round to 3 decimal places, so 2.347. So since this is 5, 2.347. So that's another function, round. Now what it says here is one of the common pitfalls is when you're looking up a function, you should remember to pass the name of the function and not the result of calling the function. So that's what is done here. So we are doing help round, and then we're providing some number. So now what does this say? So it gives you help on int object. Why? Because you take this out and let's say you denote it by x, and then you get the type of x and it's an int. So when you're doing help for x, it's an int object. So it's just giving you help about that. So let's see what happens when you get type around. So it's a built-in function or method. So this is what the help function is about. It's very useful or you can also Google it, but it's much faster. Obviously, it's right inside the environment. So we learned about the print function. So we can also do help print, and it's giving you information about the print functions. So it says the print the value to a stream or a stdout. Don't worry about it. It just prints stuff on the screen. So here you have some optional arguments like file, separator, and flush. You don't need to worry about them right now. You can read about them and see how they work, but this is a very basic intro, and you don't need to worry about different kinds of arguments right now. We will use them when we have to use them. So now functions. So we have seen some built-in functions, like we have seen the print function, help function, we have seen min, max, type, different kinds of built-in functions. But now what if you want to write your own function? So let's say you have to calculate the least difference between three numbers in a Python script, in a project that you're doing, and you have to do it multiple times. So if you have to do that, you will do something like, let me copy this and let me create something here. Okay, so now if you have these three numbers, you will say, okay, I have a equal to 10, b equal to 5, c equal to minus 4, minus 3. And then what I'm doing here is I'm calculating the difference between a and b, the absolute difference. I'm calculating the difference between b and c, again absolute, and then a and c. And I'm taking the min of these three numbers and I'm printing them. So if I have to do this multiple times, I don't want to keep repeating the code. Instead, what I'll do is I'll make a function. So to define a function, you write def, and then the name of the function, and then the arguments it should have. So here the arguments are a, b, c. It can be anything you want, any name, but yeah, they should represent what's going on. So here are these three numbers. So least difference function will take three numbers and it will return a number which is the minimum difference of these three pairs. So that's what the least difference function will do. So when you run this cell, you don't get any output. It's just a function. And to call this function, what you can do now is you can just say least difference. Now, it's usually better to provide the name of the argument. So a equals 10, b equals 5, c equals minus 3, just like before. And it gives you 5. What you can also do is you can skip the name of the arguments. So if you skip the name, you have to take care of the order. So 10, 5, minus 3. Now let's say the same function you have provided with only two values, two arguments. So this will be a, this will be b, and there is no c. So what happens in this case? It's going to give you an error that least difference is missing one required positional argument, c. So you have to provide that. So it tells you the function start with header introduced by the def keyword, def, and the intended block of code following the colon is run when the function is called. So when this function is called, it runs this it runs all of this. So if I write something here, k equal to 10, and if I call this function, it's not going to run k equal to 10. But if I put k equal to 10 here, it's going to run k equal to 10. But if I put k equal to 10 after the return, it's going to have no effect. So once you use a return statement, it just exits the function and returns whatever you have written here. So if you write some code after return, it's not executed. Okay. So yeah, that's what I mentioned here. Return is another keyword uniquely associated with functions. When Python encounters a return statement, it exits a function immediately and passes the value on the right-hand side of the calling context. So don't worry about the words like keyword words like context and all. So it just returns, and it returns a value. It can also return another function, but don't worry about it. So now we know what the function that we made least difference is doing. So it's calculating the least of these three pairs. So we can now print them. So least difference 100 and 110 and 100, least difference 110, 10, 5, 6, 7, and you can, if you add a comma in the end or if you don't add a comma in the end, it's going to be the same. So when I run this, I get 9, 0, and 1. So coming back to the help function, now you can use the help function to get help for least difference. But you know, Python doesn't know what the function is doing, and it cannot tell you how to use the function if you don't tell it how to use it. So now you can write comments like this. So we have seen previously that we write comments with starting with a hash. So this is a comment. So you can write comments like this, but you can also write comments in between 3 quotes. So this is a multi-line comment. And you can also use the other type of quote. So this is also a multi-line comment. Okay. So now here what we have done is we have written a comment and we say, okay, this function returns the smallest difference between any two numbers among A, B, and C. And we give an example, least difference 1, 5, minus 5, and it returns 4. So now this part here is known as docstring. So that identifies, so when you're writing different functions, you want other people to use your code, you would probably want to write docstrings so that they understand what the functions are doing. And now if you do help least difference, it's going to print the same thing that you have written in the documentation. So if I just remove it and write my name, it will return my name, but this is not useful for anyone. Now functions that don't return, so functions always return something. So now here we have removed return. So it was like this, but now we remove it. So functions always return something. So if you don't add return, it returns none type. So see, now it has calculated stuff, but it has not returned anything. So that's why you get none. And none is a special value, also similar to null. So without a return statement, this function doesn't, it does do everything, but in the end it doesn't return anything. So it's not useful for you. So what you can do is you can also do something like, instead of return, you can do print here, but then you cannot use this value anywhere else. So if I do print, so instead of none, it's going to first print the numbers, all the three numbers, and then the return value of the least difference. It's because I added print here. So it does print what's inside the function, and then it prints what the function returns. Okay. The same thing that I mentioned here has been mentioned here in a different way. So mystery is print. So a function without an inbuilt function without any argument. So it's not going to print anything. It's going to return none. And when you print mystery, it's going to return none again. So that's the same thing. So let's not complicate stuff. So when we call help print, we saw that print function has several optional arguments. So one of the arguments is SEP. So let me do help print again. So it says set string inserted between values default a space. So if I remove this step and I print, so it prints 1, 2, 3, and when I add it again, so let's print both of them. It gives me this value in between the both numbers. So you can see here there is one space. If I remove the space, it's like this. So space matters when you're printing stuff. Another cool separator can be tab. It can be new line. So tab is represented by /t. If you do that, everything is separated by a tab. If you want new line, so /n. So these things you have to remember, but you don't need to worry about them for now. So this is a separator argument. Okay, yeah, so it says if we don't specify a value for value, step is treated as having a default value of single space, which we have already seen. So everything's separated by a single space. So now we create a function which takes an argument called who and then prints hello who. So you have printed hello, and this is another argument which is printed with hello. So let's run this function and see what's happening. Since we have specified equal to colon, we know that we don't need to specify this argument. So it becomes an optional argument. So here, if we don't provide who in this function, it prints hello colon. And now, if we provide who as Kaggle, another string, so hello Kaggle. And if we provide create world, so then it's hello world. And let's see what happens if we provide a number. So it doesn't matter. So it's just going to print it with from the print function. Okay, now functions applied to functions. So let's try it by an example first. So there is a function in which you multiply by 5. So you provide a number x and it just multiplies your number by 5 and returns a new number. And now there is a function called call, and that takes another function and an argument. So the function that it can take here can be multiplied by 5 and argument. So another function is squared call. So call function on the result of calling function of an argument. So you have a function and then another function, and inside that you have the argument. So let's see what's happening here. So let's just print it first. So call multiply by 5. So you just provide the function name, and you have the value. The argument value is 1, so it returns 5. And then you have the squared call, and here you have multiply by 5, and the argument is 1, and it returns 25. So why is that? So it took the it took the output of this function, which is actually this one with argument with x equal to 1, and then it sent back the value to this function again. So x was 1 and this returned 5, and 5 went back again to this function. Now x is 5, and thus this returns 25. So if you don't understand this, don't worry about it. So it's actually very simple, and once you code this, you will understand on your own. So it just takes a function name and an argument and returns a value of the function with the argument. Okay, so yeah, that's what it mentions here, that these are called higher order functions, and you probably won't write your own for a little while. But there are higher order functions which are built in Python, and you might find useful to call them. So now here is an interesting example using the max function. So let's see what the max function does by calling help on max. So it says max is an iterable, so argument 1, 2, number of arguments, and then there is an argument called key. So when we calculated max, so if we do max 1, 5, 6, 32, 6, whatever, it gives me 32. So it just gives me the max value. So now if I write a function that returns the remainder of x after dividing by 5, so I wrote a function mod underscore 5 of x. So that just returned x% 5. And here I'm saying which number is the biggest, and if I have 100, 51, and 14 and I do max, it's going to return 100. But now there's a hidden optional argument called key, and you can use the max function to ask which number is the biggest modulo 5. Now what happens here is you provide the same numbers, but the function in key, so this function mod 5, will run on all these 3, and then it will provide the max value. So here it's 14. Why? Let's see. So mod 5, okay, I should not run this here. So I'll try here. So mod 5, since I've already defined the function here, I will say mod 500, print me the value of that, and mod 5 51, mod underscore 5 14. So you see the values are now 0, 1, and 4. So these are the remainder values. So when you divide 100 by 5, you don't have any remainder. Here you have remainder as 1. Here the remainder is 4. So now since 14 returned the highest remainder value, your max function will return 14 instead of 100. So that's what the argument key is used for. So if I want to say like return the remainder of x after dividing by 6, I can make another function 6 mod 6, let's say, and then here instead of 5 I have 6. So this is also something that you can check on your own. So now it gives you the same number. So that's what it is about functions. So you have learned how to write your own function. So if you want to write a simple application called calculator with 2 numbers, so x and y, and operator. The operator can be plus, minus, negative, whatever, or you can have several numbers here. You can do that on your own now. So you can do a lot of complicated things with functions. Functions make your life easier when you have to write a lot of code and there's a lot of repetition. Okay, so now we have done that. Now we can try to use the functions and do the exercise. So let's see. So now if you have not done the exercise on your own, you can come back to this video and you take a look at it later if you have any doubts. So the first one is complete the body of the following function according to its docstring. So now they have provided you a docstring, and now they are telling you to write a function to complete this function. So first of all, there is another reserved key, and it's called pass, but don't worry about it. So we just remove it. And now it says the function should return the given number rounded to 2 decimal places. So if you have a number like this, it should round it to 2 decimal places. So if you have 3.141 something something, it should return 3.14. So we have already seen the round function. So what we can do is we can do round, and here we take the number, so which is the number argument here, and then we define the places. So if you don't remember, you can always do help and round, and it's going to give you the arguments that you need to use. Or you can select this help round or question mark round, as I've shown you before. So now the second argument that you can use here, and I've already shown you this, is n digits. So I will say n digits equal to 2. So 2 digits. And you're done. So the next one is the help for round says n digits may be negative. So does it say so? We take a look. So help round. The return value has the same type as number, and digits may be negative. Okay, yeah, it does say so. Okay, so what do you think will happen if it is negative? So let's try. Round 10 point something and digits equal to -2. So you got 0. And we can also do round -10 -0. So now you see like you got 0 here. Let's make it 1. So now you're getting -10. So let's remove this one. What about 143.24 something? So you're getting 140. So now -1 is coming on this side. So that's what you have to remember. Like now this will be 140, and if you have 150, so it's like this. And you can also do 2. So it goes to the second one. So now if it's 146, it goes to 100. If it's 151, it should go to 200. So that's what a negative n digit means, and that's what it does. So it's all about trying, and you can figure it out on your own. So can you think of a case when this is useful? Once you're ready, run the code below to see the answer and to receive credit for completing the problem. So when can this be useful? It can be useful in many different situations, but as you see here, it says, it gives you like an example. The area is a very large number, so maybe you just want to round it to 3/10, like 1000. So 338,424 gets rounded to 338,000. So these kind of situations you can be more useful. The next one is related to the previous one, where you had to calculate how many candies need to be smashed. So here, what do we have to do here? Return the total number of leftover candies that must be smashed after distributing the number of candies evenly between 3 friends. So do we have to do something here? Modify it so that optionally takes a second argument representing the number of friends and the candies are split between. If no second argument is provided, it should assume 3 friends as before. Okay, so here I can do number of friends. So we wrote another argument, and this argument has to be optional. And when it's optional, its value should be 3. So that's how you denote optional argument. One thing that you must remember that you cannot have a non-optional argument after an optional argument. It's going to throw an error. So now you got number of friends, number of friends, and I take this and I remove 3 and just do total candies percent number of friends. And it is correct. So now we are done. Now it says some kind of optional. So I hope you understood this. If you didn't, write in comments and I will try my best to explain. So now here, this is an optional thing that you can do. So it says read the code and predict what you think will happen. Round to 2 places. I think this will throw an error because the spelling is wrong. I think it was written as round, but if it's written as RUOND, then it's going to return something. So now here you have x equal to -10, y equal to 5. Which of these 2 variables have above have the smallest absolute value? So smallest absolute value will be min of absolute value of. So here you see like you're using many different functions in just one line. So first you calculate the absolute value of x and y, and then you take min. And you can just run it to see what's happening. Is it going to give you an error? Yes. So what's happening here is which of the 2 variables have the smallest absolute value? So absolute takes only 1 argument. You're providing it with 2 arguments. So this is a mistake. So now what we can do is we can write min abs x comma abs y. So this gives you print 5. Okay, so now there is another function, f of x, and y is abs x, and return is here. Now I already told you about indentation, so that's what is wrong here. If you remove the comments, you see that return is outside the function, so it won't do anything. No effect. You get indentation error. So what you have to do is put return inside the function. Okay, I hope it was useful, and I hope you learned something new today, and I will see you on the next day. And if you like the video, do click on the like button, do subscribe, tell your friends about it, share it. And thank you very much, and goodbye.